That's why they use knife, dagger, took all my bodies. Took all my body because what they did to me. Took me, my tummy, everywhere, my tummy, my body.
Which thing they use to this one like this?
Dagger.
Why then use that guy on your
They
body?
say I should control money, I should bring them money for releasing. I don't have money. That's what I used to missed. I suffer, do everything. I just say that is the end of my life because of the challenge of a friends. Came back from UK, came back from Italy. The guy come to house the cars, the house the building, has everything in our lives. I said, guy, give me money. He said no. That's why I'm back on this journey. I say before 38, 39, 40, I'll have my own building, have my own house, have my own car, have my own big family, living large. I don't know, God will set out will be all this stumbling block himself. I put her now, block, I put this on block, so I'm in Libya, I come back again the same time. What am I going to do?
Whenever his friends returned to Agbo from Italy in December every year, Mr. Gideon Iken was always amused and thrilled by their lavish lifestyle. This would eventually push him to save up and go through the dangerous Libya route to Europe, but all his efforts failed as he could not cross and had to be deported to Nigeria. Today, he's living in a very terrible condition in his house, where he says he takes his bath in the morning outside his premises before anyone else wakes up. This is the story of 39-year-old Mr. Iken. My name is Damilare Okola. You're watching the award-winning My Migration Story series on Legit TV.
Why you go Libya?
Because of hardship.
Which kind of hardship?
Hardship for Nigeria here. I suffer, do everything, gather a lot of change at the enter road. On the way, just suffer everything in my life. I don't know what to start, I don't know what to go to. I came back into this country again. I traveled 2016, October 6, 2016. I lived in Nigeria. I came back 2019, February 22, 2019. I suffered, do other things, suffer, problem here and there, going from nowhere, coming back nowhere. I got a little change to Returnee. After that, suffering every day, poop and play, I don't know what is going to do wrong. Of this suffer, God gave me back. I came back to Nigeria again, struggle again for survival. There's no hope, no brother, no sister, no anywhere. I go to training in Asaba for returnees. After I came back from Libya, I can't go to returnees Asaba. Promising here and there, they will call you. I call back to Benin again. All those things stress on my body. I need to calm myself down. Let's say, I say, God, if you are the one I serve, you make me who I am today. But after that done, my dad called me that one of my people that came back to Libya called, so I should call the ION. I give them my number. I give them the number I used to came back from Libya. After that and done, I don't know. It's only last week, my leader, UN, called me and said, Biggie, I've already paid you. I said no. He said, give me the details. You used to come back, the month, everything, the month you take go, the month you take come back. I give everything to him. He sent it. That's why you people are here today. May God be the glory. I'm seeing the changing. The God will answer my prayer. The God I serve will answer my prayer in the mighty name of Jesus.
How was growing up like? Where did you grow up? How many brothers and sisters do you have?
You are 8 in number. Two boys, me and my elder brother. We always do the boys. 6 girls.
Where are they?
They are in their husbands, some are married, all the whole family. Their husband's house, my brother, his wife, his own wife. Me, I don't have anything, but I know God will give me my own.
So when you say you don't have anything, were you working before you went to Libya? What were you doing precisely?
I'm a builder. I'm a house builder.
A house builder.
Yeah.
You decided to start building house like a bricklayer.
Yeah.
So you were building houses before leaving for Libya?
Yeah, before I leave to Libya.
How much were you making then per month or per week or on a regular, at least in 1 week? How much were you making?
In a week, I make around from 20 upwards.
20,000
upwards.
Upwards.
Yes.
So why did you leave that kind of job for Libya?
I know, because of the challenge of a friends. Came back from UK, came back from Italy.
You had some friends who came back from Italy. And they told you what?
They said I should come back, come to Italy. After the guy come to house the cars, the house the building, has everything in our lives. We go, he carry me to clubs. I said, guy, give me money. He said, no, it's drink. If you go, you know how I suffer to get this money. That's why I'm back on this journey. Let me see if God will open my way.
So those your friends that went to Italy and came back, you saw how they were living large.
Yeah. That ties me to know, say, I'm a man, I need to pass it through. The pain that passed through, let me pass it again.
And they told you they went through Libya to Italy?
Yes. After they came back, have a car, have a house, marry. They carry you to club, they don't give you money, they give you drink. Tostigate you until you drink to your level, you don't know what you are doing again. They'll carry you back, dump in your house, drive up to the houses.
How many of those friends did you have then?
I have about 6 of them.
You had about 6 of them?
Yeah.
And they told you they went to Italy through?
Yeah.
So they asked you to also suffer through that route?
Yeah. I said, let them send money for me for me to use to plane. They said, no. The risk they take, that is the risk I want to take again.
So those are friends. Now, when you went to Libya and you couldn't make it and you returned to Nigeria, what were they saying? What did they say?
They said, let me try again.
They asked you to try again?
Yeah.
They say you should try to go to Libya
again.
To Italy. And have you tried again?
No.
Why didn't you try again?
I said, I don't have money, I don't have anything, I don't have that. Look at what surrender I'm living. I'm really a church rat.
Where did you get money to travel in the first place? When you first traveled, where did you get the money from?
I used to get money, this money I make in a week. By week I save some part of the money inside the hustling. I hustle in big clear work. I save from it. I gather, I move up.
Like how much?
In a week I get 20,000, I remove 10,000 for my own. For this, so I keep my gather everything in this life to make sure I become a man, successful one in my life.
Like how much did you gather together to travel?
I gather 350,000.
So if you have 350,000 naira now, what will you do with it?
If I have 350,000, I will start a business.
What kind of business?
I will start my building plumbing material, all those things. Start everything, open a shop, make everything successful for me.
Okay, but when you had that money then, you didn't plan to start, you didn't think you was like to start a business, you just wanted to go to...
I want to go to Italy. Let me become a man, a mate, like my mate.
So like peer pressure, they put pressure on you to become like them.
Yeah.
They said you must go through the route they went to also make money.
Money came back.
When you got to Libya, what did you do? What were you doing in Libya? What things were you made to go through?
No work, suffering, carpenter work, suffering, do type of job, no useless job, no. That's why.
You said you were doing carpentry job.
Yeah.
Were they paying you?
How much? 5 dinar. 5 dinar is 500 naira in Nigerian money. But you need to sustain and feed yourself. Make everything successful.
Do you have a wife and kids?
I have, but they're not around with me now.
Where are they?
They are in my father's house.
In your father's house?
Yeah.
You had the wife and kids before you traveled, or when you returned?
Before I traveled.
How many children?
2.
2 children.
Yeah.
Did they go to school?
They go to school.
Both go to school.
Yeah.
How do you manage to pay their fees?
I manage. When I was in Libya, so little one I save. I send a little bit to my father. They said there is no money again. I should come back to face my penalty as a father. And that's why it make me to come back to suffering every day and night. Be thinking, no sleeping, no sleepless night, nothing. Thinking God, one day God will answer my prayer.
What exactly is that prayer?
My prayer, let God locate my helper, wherever my helper is.
How about your building business? Why didn't you get back to building houses?
Because I don't have money again. Because before you start a business company, you need to get physical cash in your hand. Before you start a building, you buy materials or those things. When they call you for work, you know to present your materials. You know what you do, what you don't know what to do.
This place that you're living in, is it your place, or how did you get this place?
Because it's rent. I pay rent.
You pay rent to stay here?
Yeah.
You pay rent to stay inside this place?
Yeah.
How much rent do you pay?
Everything, room and parlor. Everything is 10,000 naira.
Per month?
Yeah.
So how do you pay? How have you been paying the rent?
I pay the rent, I go to work. The building, I go back to building line again. From there, helper, workman, helper. The day workman work, refuse to me, I go to workman work. The day I say helper work, I go to work. That's why I used to gather to pay the rent.
Did you try to go to school when you were much younger? Like, did you try to go to school, say secondary, university,
I finished
polytechnic?
my secondary school.
Okay.
And when I finished my secondary school, my father said there's no money again. I should go and learn work. That's why I learned this building work.
So, but if your dad had money, what would you have gone? What would you have done?
I will go to apply to my education back. There's no money, no help, nothing. What am I going to do? I'm going to go and thief. I need to do what my mate do, learn a work. That's why I did work and learn. That's why I used to feed now. I don't have a brother, I don't have a brother. I have a brother, I have a sister, but I took like I don't have anybody again. But I remember one day I said God will locate my helper to me.
Those your friends that are in Italy that were living large before you traveled, have they come back to Nigeria since then?
They came back last year.
So what discussions did you guys have when they came back?
I told them to help me. If you carry me to that side again, I will pay you your money. Inside everything. They say I should take the risk again. I said, God, one day God will send my help. I don't want to die in my life.
When you say risk, what risk did you go through? What risk did you, or what happened?
Sahara Desert. We follow Sahara Desert with motor. The healers to be more like 80 people and the healers. We took healers to Libya.
So, do you regret following the advice of those your friends that said you should go by road to Libya and to Europe? Do you regret doing what they said you should do?
I regret.
You regret?
I regret it.
You will not travel by road to
I will not travel. Any God said, I gather the money for my flight, I will go to my flight.
But if you gather 350,000, let's assume 350,000 is the amount you used to fly to Italy now, and you gather the money now, do you still want to go to Italy?
No, I will start my business back, my building business back.
You start a building business here?
Yeah.
You won't go to Italy?
I will not go to Italy again. I will start my building business back to Nigeria here.
Nigeria here?
Yeah.
So you don't want to travel abroad again?
No, I don't want to leave my family, my children, my 2 children, my wife, and my brother, my father. I want to see them one after the other.
You want to assist them?
Yeah.
As well?
If I start a business, I see the money today. I will start a business in my life. I know before a month, 2 months, God will provide everything for me again.
But does your friend's lifestyle, does it still make you feel somehow? When you see them, do you still feel somehow?
No, I don't feel somehow because I traveled, they traveled. I traveled, I came back again. I'm alive.
Do you have some people who traveled and did not return alive?
I got many friends. There are 7.
7 of your friends?
Yeah, that come back to Nigeria again.
They did not come back again?
No.
Is it that they traveled, they've crossed to Italy, or they
They
died?
traveled to many countries, they killed them there.
They killed them there?
Yeah.
So for those people who are still longing to go to Libya, what do you want to tell them?
I want to tell them, you get your money, you enter flight to wherever you are going to. Don't suffer again.
Don't suffer
by road again. Gather your money, you travel. That's why the advice I have for them again.
How old are you now?
I'm not 39 years.
39 years. When you were growing up, what were you hoping that, okay, maybe by 40 I would have achieved this, I would have done this? What were some of the things that you were hopeful?
I say before I be to 30, 34, 34, 38, 39, 40, I'll have my own building, have my own house, have my own car, have my own big family, living large. I don't know, God will Satan will be all those stumbling block himself.
Satan put stumbling block.
Yes, yeah, stumbling block. Why I see now is a Satan plus stumbling block. It's not really God wish again. I gather money for me to travel on the way 3 times. Suffering anywhere. I put hand out. Block, I put this on block. So I'm in Libya. I come back again the same time. What am I going to do? I need to go. I said, God intervene. God will send my helper for me.
God will send the helper for you.
I said, God, send my helper for me. I know one day God will send my helper for me. I'll locate me in Jesus' name.